Here and welcome back to a top 10 manhwa list. And in this video, I'll be listing my top 10 saddest and most heartfelt manhwa that I've read. Now, this video is the subject of personal opinion, and the entries in this list are from personal experiences and emotions that I felt while reading certain parts, and just how relatively depressing an overall story made me feel. Now, I'm not one to read a lot of sad manhwa, but there's just something about reading an emotional piece of art that is just satisfying. I can definitely testify that at least one of the choices on this list will make you cry, or at least shed a tear, because I know I have. Please leave a like and subscribe, and comment down below if you have seen or read any of the manhwa on this list. And now, without further ado, let's start with the first one. Coming in first is The Horizon, and without a doubt, in the short 21 chapters this manhwa went for, I was left with a serious sense of dread and sorrow. By far, this is my favorite of the genre. The manhwa is set in a war-ravaged world where a boy who lost his mother continues walking on forward through the horrors that lay in wait to discover what the purpose of life is. This is the first manhwa I've ever seriously felt a deep sadness when reading due to how philosophical and deep certain parts of the manhwa were. Between the outright panels that you see, there are also deeper implications that are easy to miss, but if you really pay attention and let yourself become immersed, there is no limit to the metaphors and underlying messages that are portrayed. I tremendously recommend reading The Horizon if you're looking for a short story that is packed with so much meaning and implication to the point that everyone who reads it can interpret it in their own distinct way. The art is also beyond amazing, and it really amplifies the characters and setting, not to mention the fact that it's distinct from other works. The imagery and meaning of a boy walking down a desolate and empty road littered with corpses and destroyed tanks and vehicles really sits heavy on the heart, and there is no shortage of panels that target your very human essence more than this manhwa. Ultimately, this comes down to you reading this yourself, because like I said, many different people can interpret the meaning of this manhwa in many different ways. It's up for you to read it, and it's up to you to understand the meaning and value of life. Next up is a manhwa called Utopia by the author Neuk Dae Sam, and this manhwa follows the story of two teenagers at the lowest points of their life as they experience physical and mental trauma from their own respective issues. The two meet and their fates become entwined as we get to see their melancholy relationship turn into a romance that will definitely be able to get a tear or two from you. Utopia successfully manages to portray the two teenagers as polar opposites that manage to bond over their differences. When reading this manhwa, I had less tears, but more wholesome feelings when the two would interact and etc. The connection the two develop over the chapters forms into an unbreakable bond that'll get you feeling happy for the two. This manhwa was a fun read with an interesting plot that really only gets better the more you read it, so give it a try and see if you enjoyed it as much as I did. In third is About Death, and this one was a truly interesting one. The manhwa follows different scenarios of different people who have experienced different deaths. From the good and to the bad, we get to see a character who is called God, who basically judges what the person has done throughout their entire life and decides what is next for them. The author does a good job in showing you different sides of the spectrum, so to speak. One chapter, you get someone who works an honest living, but doesn't get to spend much time with their family because of their work, so God gives them a second chance. Whereas on the other hand, you have someone who has done nothing but evil their entire life. Someone so selfish, the only place for them to go is hell. Now, despite being a manhwa, it really makes you reevaluate things and the stuff that you've done, whether or not you should be given a second chance. Because I know for certain that when I read this, I definitely started thinking about the things that I did, and I was like, oh, if I was in this guy's situation, I probably would have gone to hell. Compared to most of the manhwa I've read, This one was definitely one of the more interesting ones, and I really enjoyed what it had to offer, and so will you. Now on to Distant Sky. This manhwa is about a boy who wakes up and finds himself all alone in a deserted, abandoned town where he must now discover what has happened. The best way I could describe this is strange. The art style isn't the best, and the manhwa is mostly black and white. However, the emotions and feelings of the characters are successfully portrayed, and you can feel the sorrow and pain the main character goes through. I will say, the start is confusing, and it might take time to understand what is happening, but throughout the manhwa, you'll always have a strange feeling in the back of your mind due to how eerie the atmosphere is. If I had to add anything, then I'd say this is a mix of horror and drama that balances scary and sad, so therefore making it a unique entry compared to the other manhwa on this list. Right off the bat, if you're looking for drama and something to make you emotional, this wouldn't be something I recommend, but perhaps mystery and a bit of drama, then this one would be for you. Up next is Like a Butterfly, and this one is entertaining as heck. It had me reading chapter after chapter until I finished it in one sitting. Now, this manhwa tells the story of an old man who, against the wishes of his family, decides that he's gonna follow his lifelong dream ever since he was a child of wanting to become a ballet dancer. This manhwa was super satisfying to read, and it really had me feeling emotional by the end of the story. The progression and the journey is what gets you, and to read the manhwa is to become a part of the journey, which is why at the end of it you are left feeling so satisfied, yet sad at the same time. This was truly a very fun read, and I highly, highly recommend this because at the end of the day, the characters and their relationships are so wholesome that you'll feel as if you were part of the family. Try reading the manual for yourself and see how you feel, because this is definitely a story too good to be glossed over, so at least give it a try. In sixth is 10 Years That I Loved You the Most. Okay, this one is a real tearjerker and will make you cry. Despite it being based on the yaoi genre, it could be considered to be targeted for, a female audience, but I still read it and I cried all the same because of how good this manhwa was. It follows the story of the relationship between two people coming to an end due to one person giving it their all and trying to survive in a one-sided relationship, and the other person couldn't care less. That's just a brief overview, but it gets much deeper than that the more you read it. The manhwa goes over topics like relationships and how people lose their feelings over time. How despite you trying your best to make them like you again, the feelings just they aren't there anymore and they've moved on, yet you are still stuck in a time where you think they still love you. The betrayal and the heartbreak the main character experiences is bound to get you feeling something as well. If you allow yourself to be immersed with the story, then 100% this will make you cry. There is no worse feeling than having the person you love the most drift away from you, and nothing explains that feeling better than this. After that, in seventh place is The Uncomfortable Truth. And this one is another mystery slash drama due to the story following two brothers in what can simply be described as a bromance, getting along, and then suddenly we see that one of the brothers is being convicted of murdering 8 innocent civilians, which is a huge contrast to the stuff that will happen in the beginning, as you'll see if you read it. Now, the rest of the manhwa is about piecing the pieces of the story together, basically, and understanding what happened, what led up to this, and why. Just why is this happening? The manhwa is very fun to read and can be creepy at times when the, bromance stuff occurs, because it's really like yandere type stuff. But other than that, it becomes emotional towards the later sections of the story, so don't expect to be shedding a tear just yet. When you read the manhwa, just be prepared for some wacky stuff to happen. The author does a really good job in getting you to like the characters, and then next thing you know, dot dot dot. You sort of can guess how it's gonna go. Diamond Dust is next on the list, and this one is one that will hit you in the feels more than any other. This one follows the story of a girl who, since birth, was forced into a life of playing nothing but the piano and not being able to have a social life or go out or do anything with her friends. The only thing she was allowed to do was play the piano day in and day out. One day, she meets a carefree musician who isn't shackled by their family, and when the two meet, their fates become intertwined. This manhwa tackles the emotions of the characters and how being forced to do something for your whole life can cause you to have some serious pent up emotions that can affect you and those around you. I recommend this as a read for anyone looking for a dramatic manhwa that has a satisfying conclusion that'll possibly make you shed a tear. In ninth place is Please, Mr. Bear, and this manhwa takes on the philosophical meanings and intricacies of love. The story follows a white collar office worker who breaks up with his girlfriend, and after experiencing the heartbreak, he wonders if he'll ever be able to love again. This manhwa tackles the issues of breaking up with someone you love and dealing with the emotional aftermath, the void in your heart that follows. The story is very intriguing, and there are a lot of heartfelt moments that you can read and experience. There are a lot of meanings and messages that can be understood after reading the manhwa. It's just up to you to pick up on them. This one is truly a manhwa that can make you cry with just how undesirable breaking up with someone can be. Everyone dreads it, and yet we still love all the same, despite knowing it would always come to an end. Last on this list is Her Time, and this one is confusing as all heck. Similar to Steins Gate type stuff, the plot is as so. The main character's wife dies and comes back as his student, and a load of time related stuff occurs, and you would have to read the whole manhwa to understand what is happening. And yes, it's confusing because it involves different timelines and stuff. This is surely going to make you cry due to the reactions of the main character and how he deals with his grief and then suddenly seeing his wife again and all that stuff. I recommend this for the drama and mystery that's deeply sewn into the plot. Most of the time, you'll be confused, but then you'll get your answers in the later chapters. Definitely give this a read, and if you can understand what's happening, you'll definitely be able to appreciate this work of art. That is all for this list, and thank you for watching. Hopefully, one of the entries on this list can make you shed a tear. And with that being said, if you liked or have read or is interested in checking these out, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. This has been Almighty Anime. Till next time.